Hey, you have Patrick Findaro here, co-founder at Vetted Biz. Very excited to have on Paul Dorsey, who I've never had someone with this title before on, but he's the head janitor at Jantize and also a majority owner of the Jantize franchise system. So very excited to have you on, Paul, today and talk all about franchising, your particular industry, the Jantize business model, who it's right for, and let's try to keep this as conversational as possible.
Hey, the head janitor, excellent. That the janitor boy is my book I wrote too, so you guys can look into that later. And Patrick, I don't know. You don't have a title either. Whether I'm the majority shareholder or the head janitor or the president, or I might become the sales guy or the
Exactly.
operations. And shortly here, we're paying out. I'm going to go into the accounting office too. So I'm an active guy who continues to grow Jantize America. I love the brand. Matter of fact, if you see the brand back there, the Jan Man, we call him, that's actually a picture of me back in my younger years. But I'm excited to speak with you.
And we were talking a bit before I hit record. People refer to franchising as an industry, but at the end of the day, it is just a licensed business model. And Jantize chose to go with that licensed business model for the janitorial services.
Exactly. It's no, because I brought that up because one of your last webinars, and I love your webinars and your podcast. I learned a lot from them. I met a lot of good people through watching your podcast. So thank you very much. And thank all your sponsors too. But yeah, there's no such industry as franchising. Franchising is a method of doing business or a method of expansion. So all the franchise fam who's in the franchise industry out there, you've got me because there's no such thing, and I always want to continue to live in reality.
That's well said. And so, how did you get your start in the janitorial industry? Because I'm sure a lot of little boys don't grow up thinking they're going to jump into commercial cleaning. I'm curious to see how you got your start in this.
And that's a good question too. And I never thought of myself in the janitorial, which I also call the facility service industry. I answered an ad that Janie King had for an outside salesperson. I never knew what an outside salesperson was, although I just finished college and I was bartending at the local Five and Dime. And you should be a sales guy, they all would say as they came in and listened to the piano man. So I saw this ad and I answered the ad and I went in and interviewed. And the person, I'll never forget him, he interviewed me. It's like, well, we're looking for your outside sales guy. You're going to come in the office. And this was before there was cell phones. I think we even had a pager at the time. You're going to make a couple calls in the office, and I want you to go out and knock on doors from 8 o'clock in the morning and be back here at 5 o'clock at night. And I was like, what? And we're going to pay you. We're going to pay you $500 a week. And I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. I could go out and literally play golf all day and nobody knew where I was. It was my dream job. This is like living back at my parents' house when I was 16 years old. So I left the office that day, and I think I did go play golf or go hang out with my friends and came back at 5 o'clock. And the first week or two, they wrote me checks. And I was like, oh, wow, this is wonderful. One night, I think I went back to sleep at my house that day, Lo and behold, my background and my guilty conscience, like, I can't keep paying this money. It's not going to last very long. I'm going to go knock on doors. So I began to follow their plan and fulfill my obligations. The first year I was with that company in Charlotte, North Carolina, Patrick, I sold over $1 million worth of janitorial services in 12 months by literally going out.
What age were you selling this?
25, 26 years old.
That's incredible.
Well, it wasn't incredible. It was because I thought there was elves that came to clean buildings. Nobody realizes last I reported, it was like $128 billion industry, but nobody. And back in those days when I started, it was all just mom and pops with no regulations and a mop and a broom. Matter of fact, 20 years later, I think still 65, 70% of the industry is mom and pops with mops.
I can imagine mom and pop, maybe more on the residential side and you're paying them cash, but commercial, a business owner that's making hundreds of thousands of dollars or $1 million a year needs someone that's accountable, shows up on time. And isn't going to be gone on vacation and not clean for a couple weeks.
Again, that was early years of franchising in general too. So I was going into these customers saying, hey, I'm not going to send you in a $5 an hour employee. You're going to meet our franchisee, William or Steve or Mary, and they have a vested interest to make sure your building's clean.
So it sounds like, yeah, everyone wins together. If taking a step back on a lot of these facility management companies choose to have a franchise system where it's the franchisor, area developer, you could say master franchisee, and then franchisee. How does it work for Jantize in terms of like the division of the roles and like what type of person really excels in that role?
That's great. And let's forget about the titles. Like, I don't
Yeah,
like head janitor or president or national franchise director. Let's just forget about titles. We're all Paul and Patrick and Bill and Sue or whoever you want to be, because we're all
exactly.
people, right? So we have an area developer. It's also known as a master franchise. There's some legal terminology, and it goes right down to the 1099s at the end of the year that really matter. Okay, so we're looking an high level executive who knows how to build a team, scale a business, and he's able to support or mentor other small business owners, which would be a unit franchisee. So our unit franchisees are typically, again, husband and wife teams. The husband could be working a full-time job at the bank or the car dealership, and they want to supplement their income. So the area developer does all the sales and marketing. The unit franchisee is operational or great customer service people. Ex-military guys make great unit franchisees. And then my office, the National Franchise Support Center, we take care of all the billing, the credit, the collections with our proprietary software I created called JanView. I actually think myself more of a IT developer now, Patrick, than I do a franchisor or even a janitorial guy.
It makes sense. So really on the organizational structure side, I mean, if these unit operators, if they scaled up, they would have to be doing what you handle at the brand side as well as what the master franchisee. But in your model, they can just continue executing and have a 20-person team and clean a ton of facilities.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know what, and maybe it's me too. Oh, Paul's making $1 million at the speedway and watching races today. Sometimes like, oh my gosh, for all this IT and all this work that we do with my staff here, it's like, I don't make enough money. Right. And the area developers, again, they're working on sales commissions. If they don't sell, they don't make any money. And that's both the unit franchisees, and they got to build those residuals. So they got to go out to get the customers. So that's a residual income building business there.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but how I see it, the master franchisees doing sales, supporting the operations, and they're almost like a matchmaker between a facility manager and then the cleaning staff or the cleaning company.
Sure. Or a liaison, you might set that too. But when you say facility managers, there's property managers, office managers, that whole category of would-be decision makers.
Who's your ideal decision maker when the master franchisee goes to knock on doors, or maybe now, I don't know if it's LinkedIn reach out or email or Google ads, but who's that ideal decision maker for the
Well, that's like
master
a trick
franchisee?
question too, because one, I don't want the area developers knocking on doors. The area developers have got to have sales guys. Feet on the street, feet on the street. And it goes back to the average sales guy is going to bring in me. Remember back in Charlotte 15 years ago, I worked for the master franchisor and sold $1 million worth of. So they want the area developer wants 5 Pauls or 5 guys
Yes.
like Paul who are
You're
going to
just
go out,
killing it.
knock on doors, and bring in the
Bringing
business.
in hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not $1 million in new business.
Right, because it's the nature of the business, and there's so much business out there. And then your decision maker for the unit franchisee, hey, you want to meet with the husband and the wife. You know, how many guys why I got $10,000 to invest? Well, where's your wife say? Bring your wife in the office so she knows you're spending $10,000. Don't be like Paul. You know what Paul did? Paul was married for 6 months and came home and told my wonderful bride of 22 years in August, hey, honey, I quit my job and bought a franchise today. Good thing she was still employed. Of course, years later, I bought out the franchisor and continued to grow the brand. And my wife, for the last 12 years, has been a full-time mom taking care of our children and students as we continue to grow Jantize America. So it worked out well, but don't quit your job and buy a franchise and not tell your wife.
Yeah, definitely. It's a family decision at the end of the day.
Of course it is. And then who makes the decisions is typically the wife.
And then master franchisee, is it more that executor, veteran that's here are the plans, go run with it, or is it a smooth sales guy that's been closing business at a tech firm or with medical device sales or something?
So again, I've learned a lot of lessons too, and I've sold some territories who were great sales guys, but they weren't good business managers. So no, it's a business. You don't have to have any sales experience. You can hire sales guys. So you want a good executive business manager who understands how to hire sales guys and scale a business as an area developer or a master franchisor. I mean, I'm not the only one who offers master franchises. I mean, McDonald's does in some territories such as Canada or Japan, right?
So this is not for someone that just wants to be closing deals and have an executive assistant. This is someone that wants to grow an organization, scale up, and with that, earn more money.
It's huge. Big picture. Yes.
How have you seen your niche evolved over the years? Like, I imagine, especially with this pandemic, there probably was a boost in business.
You only would guess. So the pandemic back in March of 2020, oh my gosh, we started getting all these cancellation letters. No, it's the end of the world. It's terrible. We're going to close. What's going to happen to all the franchisees and all the families that we support? Well, guess what? And don't get me wrong, and rest the souls and a lot of friends and families who were very affected by the COVID-19 with deaths and illnesses, and we're still not out of this yet. Who knows what could happen tomorrow, right? Although it's been the best thing for the facility service industry because we're no longer the dumb janitor who's got to come in the back door. We're now there to protect them from this terrible virus, and the red carpet gets rolled out as we walk in to present them to their health and safety and airborne bacteria, which we've been, blowing from the rooftops for the last 10 years, but nobody wanted to hear about it. And so back to that, we lost a lot of our customers that would be the luxury customers. We were cleaning once a week, or the small ones that we were charging minimum bid $500 a month or not. Although then the phone started ringing. Hey, Paul,
medical offices or
yes,
yeah,
manufacturing, logistics, everything. Logistics. They want us to clean their trucks. The inside of that trucks when they come through. We had a logistics company. We have guys out there, unit franchisees with their team, and the trucks would be coming through one after another like they would be going through a car wash, but we're cleaning the interior of these trucks. So, yeah.
We've seen investors in real estate property management, food businesses, and those that did fine or even excelled during the pandemic were the ones that pivoted fast. So it might be, from one customer to the next. So, that one master franchisee, say in Raleigh, who's seen that the logistic companies are paying a lot and they need the service. How does that disseminate it across the other master franchisees that really chase after that type of customer?
So, but we were always prepared. We already had all those airborne bacteria machines, and we used them in the locker rooms for the Fuchs fungus or the SORS disease or MRSA, and we used them already in medical facilities, and we used them already. I did a long time. We'd clean a daycare or a child care center, and the big ball pits of the jump around gymaroos, we'd have to go in there and spray those things down. It was a little bit extra. The chemical was more expensive. Or do you want me to clean every one of these balls? It's going to take 50 hours, Mr. Sir. So we were already fighting the airborne bacteria, and we already had all the equipment. All of a sudden, COVID, and they were sold out. So those that were prepared early on to fight other bacteria, even the common cold. I mean, again, we're getting more into the micro janitorial of the whole franchise industry too. But even those part of our weekly duties is to clean touch points, doorknobs, elevators, light switches. But now customers are like, we need this done every day. Oh my God, right?
What verticals are you most excited in really growing, or your master franchisees chasing after?
So that's a good question, and not necessarily my master franchisees or area developers. We have created, which comes out next month, and we could have done some more on this, a hybrid, because I've had so many successful unit franchisees who wanted to learn how to do their own sales and marketing. And that's really how we wanted to grow too. So I've created a hybrid, Jantize hybrid franchise, where there's not a big area developer or master franchise, but the unit franchisees go out to do their own sales and marketing. And I teach them their own sales and marketing. And those unit franchisees really become the local face of their business, not relying upon the area developer to go get this business. It's not for everybody, but there are like few unit franchisees who want to become hybrids.
Interesting. So are you updating your FDD right now to kind of reflect that other option?
I wish I could update a FDD, Patrick, and this is where we go. I've got 3 FDDs. I've got an area developer FDD that goes to the area developer. I have a template or a unit franchise FDD that goes to the unit franchisee. And then I will have a third, which will be the hybrid, to go to the hybrid guys. They're all different. They all have different obligations. Of course, the 20 items are the same, but the obligations that the franchisor will have to that franchisee are different.
That's well said. And maybe we could take a step back, like the FDD, and it used to go by UFOC. Like, how is the franchise?
Yes, I remember that. You want one of these, huh?
Since when you first entered in, 15, 20 years back, how has the franchise industry changed? Franchising as a licensed business model changed in your eyes?
I mean, I think we may have had a earlier conversation too on the phone too. The transparency of it. And here's a great story, and anybody who's listening knows the story. It was an original broker show, and there weren't even as many broker franchise companies back then, and they invited me to be up on the panel. And one of the brokers raised his hand and said, "Hey, Paul," or not Paul, they said, "Hey, franchisors." And there was 5 of us. I think one was a car franchisor, an ice cream franchisor, a haircutting franchisor, a sign franchisor, and me. And they said, "Paul, hey, franchisors," the broker asked, "Can we see your UFOC, the UFOC?" And the first guy said, No, I can't send you that. It has too many documents in there. The next guy said, No, I have to have you sign off the receipt. The other guy said, No, then you see all my legals and financials. And they got to me, and I said, I think I had a BlackBerry at the time, and I was doing. And I said, "What's your email?" And I sent him the document through a BlackBerry. Everybody, whoa! And one of the franchisor, I think it was the ice cream guy, said, "You can't do that." And I looked at everybody in the crowd and said, "Well, I just did." Because it goes back to the whole fear factor of franchising. Matter of fact, when I left and I started to explore and I wanted to build my own franchise, Guardian Custodial would be, I visited all the top ifranchise.com or I Can Franchise You or Franchise This and that. And there was only 2 or 3 of them now. Now there's 100 guys who can franchise you because they don't get me started. There's a lot of copy and pasting going on, if you know what I mean. That's another topic. They wanted $100,000 plus my firstborn child to create me a UFOC. And I was like, I ain't got $100,000. I guess I'll just, merge with Jerry or do something else. Did that answer your question? I kind of rambled on there a little bit, but.
No, well said. And the UFOC, it transitioned to the FDD. And I mean, a lot of these FDDs are available on state databases like Wisconsin, Minnesota, even California. I've seen there are franchisors that are very hesitant to give that information out to candidates or even companies like us that are reviewing data where it's like, it's a public record.
Can't you get them all on FDD.com or something too?
Well, at Vetted Biz, we have a pretty good database that we collect them from public resources, as well as franchise brokers will send them into us or even candidates. And so we can mine the data and then put it back up on our website. But to my knowledge, there's no central resource that has, the 2,000, 3,000 active brands every year. We aim to be that at Vetted Biz and and have kind of a flat monthly rate where you can download any franchise disclosure document and contact franchisees, current and past ones.
There is, I don't have it and don't remember. I'll email it to you later if it pops in my head, but there is another, I think is it fdd.com when you can get
Well, please send that to me and we can include that in the call notes.
Excellent.
So talking about transparency, financial transparency for Jantize, what can you tell us about the economics for the master franchisee, for the unit franchisee? What can you talk to us today about?
Now you're, I don't want to say a slippery slope, but who knows where this is going, right? And because we were experienced and wanting to expand, had a candidate or broker knew somebody who wanted to expand out in California, which I cut off right away. Because even California has so many rules and regulations, I can go to jail. And you don't want me going to jail now, do you? Seriously about this, because even as a janitorial service provider in the state of California, I learned that if you're spraying or using any spraying material to kill bug or airborne bacteria, that's a bug. And guess what? That's a license. And that's another insecticide that you're spraying, and you need to pay the state of California $10,000 or somewhere around that in order to have the insecticide license to be a bug inspector. So it's like, oh, there's so many different rules and regulations and things to hold people back in some of these, for lack of better words, registration states. I mean, again, I can go over a lot of those things there too.
And I've heard California too. It's like the employment issue where they have their own separate franchise, but California is trying to bring them in together as actually being an employee, where in reality they're their own separate company.
Whether that's the NLRB and National Labor Board and Relationship Board, and it was very, very popular before Trump. I forget who was there at that time too, but they were going after McDonald's, and McDonald's franchisees were the employees of McDonald's, the franchisor, and the franchisee, and they wanted the franchisor to pay taxes on those people too. So great. We should just sit here and whiteboard for future topics, man.
Definitely. Yeah, there's a lot there. So someone that wants to get in and open up a Jantize on the master franchisee level, like how much is it going to set them back?
Our territories are $75,000. We're talking football cities, major cities. They probably need another $75,000 to $100,000 to get a small office space and to hire a couple good sales guys. You're going to go through 4 sales guys in today's economy before you find a good sales guy. So be prepared for that. But $150,000, $175,000 all in.
And with that, what type of training do they get so they can hit the ground running, recruiting unit level franchisees as well as getting accounts?
Certainly have a step-by-step process of all facets of training, from inside sales to outside sales to my 52 franchise sales tips I used to send out on a blog. So everything along the way. And of course, our JanView proprietary software that everything is there at their phone on a touch of a button.
And is this the type of business that you're breaking even super fast, or is it more long-term and the benefits are really in year 2, year 3, year 4?
Well, of course, like any business, there's a startup cost in probably 12 months. And no matter how much training or how long you want to sit in the conference room, until you go out and knock on the first door, every customer is different. Again, because it's a service business. So there is a learning curve. Will it be 3 months or 6 months? And then there's an aha moment. Oh, I get it. This is what we have to do. So certainly 12, 24 months before. I think the Atlanta guys broke even in 12 months with their investment. But yeah, you're in this for the long term. I mean, think like my guy Robert in Raleigh. After a few years, he sold this 92nd unit franchise in Raleigh, North Carolina. Those unit franchisees invested about $10,000. I mean, you can do the math there too. But Robert didn't do that in a year or two. It's taken him some time.
Wow. So, I mean, if someone grows a system that big, I mean, by the time they retire, assuming their heirs don't want to take over the franchise, then they off that $150K investment, they can make a significant capital gain.
Well, again, I used Robert and his unit franchisees, but he's a good sales guy and has a great sales team around him too. He's doing, I don't know, $250,000 a month worth of janitorial services in Raleigh, where he
Hmm.
receives that royalty and management stream of 16%. So, $30,000 a month on royalties too. I don't want to tell Robert's all his business, but he's building a house in the Outer Banks now
Nice. I
for
used to
his return.
vacation in Duck
Right,
in my
right.
summers.
Excellent.
And on the unit level side, is it hard finding someone that's willing to sign up? Is it expensive for them to get in on the unit level?
It's not hard. We used to put ads on Craigslist, and the ad would say, "Be your own boss, own your own janitorial service. The customers are guaranteed." Now, with 200, $500 on a Google pay-per-click ad, if you put the same there, your phones will ring off the work. The unit franchisee, again, I don't want to say is the easiest, but it's a relationship sale where that unit franchisee is coming to you because he wants to be a unit franchisee. The harder part is you or the area developer is going out to get the customers, hunting day after day after day to bring in the customers for that unit franchisee to service.
And I mean, at the end of the day, the unit franchisee is pretty much buying an existing business, a revenue stream that they can right away serve and start getting cash flow from.
Unit franchisee, in a nutshell, don't get me wrong with all the rules and regulations. As I mentioned, I don't know who's going to be watching this video. You've got like 5 million followers now, Patrick. The unit franchisee pays an upfront commission for X amount of business. You give me $5,000, I will give you $3,000 worth of customers. Unit franchisee, you give me $10,000, I will give you $5,000 worth of business. Mr. Unit Franchisee, you give me $20,000, I'll give you $8,000 or $9,000 worth of business. Let me put a caveat on that, and in the franchise agreement, if we don't fulfill our obligations to get the guy his business, he gets his money back, guaranteed. We're probably one of the only franchisors who give the guarantee money back if we don't fulfill our obligations. You can read
And
that.
how's that guaranteed? Is it guaranteed at the master franchisee level, at the brand level? Who's giving that guarantee to the unit?
The master
Operator?
franchisor is.
Okay, solid. Yeah, no, it's definitely a business model that not everyone thinks of. And what we've seen at Vetted Biz, looking at 5,500 businesses, the ones that everyone finds sexy and they want to be working in, like a coffee shop, a smoothie shop, a fitness studio, they're not making so much money. And also, a lot of times it's non-recurring revenue, where for fitness you could be chasing a trend, or if it's a coffee shop, the people are not going there daily or weekly, and you could have people coming sporadically paying a pretty low ticket for that good.
Again, it's residuals. You got to look at scalability and residuals with any business you want to buy. I don't know whether it's sexy or what's sexy or what makes it sexy or not. Again, buying a restaurant wasn't really sexy 2 years ago, but we tripled our business. So my wife doesn't let me wear the Jantize shirt to church, but she likes driving up there into the country club and going to the pool on Saturdays, right? So it goes back to where you want to be in your scalability. Am I the president of Jantize or am I the head janitor? If you want to be the president, probably not for you, right? If you have some abilities or you have some insecurities, that's not on me, that's on you, right?
Exactly. And I mean, a big benefit, correct me if I'm wrong, is you don't have to open up a bunch of physical offices. So once you spend that, say, all in $150K, more or less, that should be it. Where for a fitness studio, coffee shop, you cap out, and you, as an owner, you might be making 80K, 100K, and then you got to write another 300K check to really expand the business.
I would like to learn how those guys all make money. Again, you got to sell a lot of fitness memberships. You got to sell a lot of ice creams to pay that $5,000-$10,000 a month rent in Birkdale or the mall or wherever you are. So you're absolutely right. You make one-time investment as a Jantize America, and then you continue to grow an empire. And let me add too, if we're now on Jantize stuff, it's 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, no nights, no weekends. I mean, sometimes I come in the office at 9 and leave at 2 and go play golf.
Yeah, that's the beauty of being a business owner, right?
I'm not trapped to anything, right? Yes, I'm not trapped to the door to unlock or the register to pay it. There's no, yeah, I don't understand that model. It's my bad.
Yeah, no, I think it's more tangible for people, and they've been a customer and they've been a buyer of that, where the service that you're selling at the end of the day is a pretty niche buyer where a lot of people can't relate to that, but that's great for Jantize, and there's less people entering the space.
Well, I used to have I don't know what the joke or a saying too, is that guy who owns the fitness center or the movie theater, he does more cleaning than I do. Unless he's hiring me to do it, right? Or unless he's hiring me to do it, because we got the keys and codes to every fitness center and gym and medical center in Charlotte and all other territories too.
And where are you most excited about expanding? We've talked a lot about North Carolina. What other states do you really want to open in, or you could use borrow your terminology? What football cities are you looking to take over?
Again, we just had a great conversation with some of our consultants this morning. Is we want to continue to expand throughout the Southeast. It's home. It's easy to do business in Birmingham. It's easy to do business in Florida. Again, we could have 10 territories, if not 15 in Florida alone, whether it's Jacksonville or Sarasota or Tampa or Orlando. So there's literally a great opportunity in the Southeast. Although I'm an opportunist, don't get me wrong, and we go where the fish are biting. If you have a candidate in Dallas, I'll fly out there and play golf with them tomorrow. If you have a candidate, I don't know how to say California anymore, but we would make
maybe
it work.
We take off the West Coast, and it's really a Southeast where there's great demographic trends as well, and a lot of businesses are thriving.
Again, Jantize Japan, right? It doesn't matter where you are. This concept works as long as there's a facility clean and a sales guy who go out and knock on the door and another entrepreneur who wants to do the operations and customer service.
There you go. There's not too many pieces of this puzzle.
Right. It's to keep it simple. Keep it simple. The old KISS principles.
Well, Paul, this has been a great chat today. Any concluding thoughts for those looking to get into franchising, or even in particular be a master franchisee of Jantize?
I have 100 thoughts, and thank you very much. And I hope my passion came across a little bit here. We went down a couple squirrely holes we could have stayed in and not even talked about Jantize. If you had any questions about franchising 101 or franchising in general, call me up, because I love to talk the talk and swap some stories with you. Again, whether it's a unit franchise, a master franchise, and if you have any questions about the Jantize Area Developer Program, don't hesitate to call me too.
And I don't think anyone I've interviewed has worn the hats where you have, where, correct me if I'm wrong, you've been an employee of a master franchisee. Yes. You've been a master franchisee, and now you're an owner of a franchise system.
Well, I worked for enough jerks that I became, the biggest jerk of all.
Paul, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you, whether it's exploring Jantize or following up on your offer to chat about franchising?
704-449-3687. Call me anytime.
Perfect. So we'll leave your number in the call notes, as well as a link to Jantize. And yeah, really appreciate your time, Paul, and for everyone that tuned in today.
Thank you, Patrick. My pleasure.